It's great to be here with you today. I don't know if you've been following the news, but it's quite cold where I come from. Boston got hit with another storm just this week on Valentine's Day, so it's great to be here and be enjoying the weather with you. And I grew up in a place that was quite cold, Wisconsin. And matter of fact, it's nicknamed the Frozen Tundra. And one morning when I was going into high school, the man who had a locker next to mine, Rocky, came in and he was all shaken up. And I said, Rocky, what happened? And he said, well, you know, Greg, how cold it is outside today? I said, yeah, it's freezing. He said, well, my whole windshield was covered with ice. And since I was late, I just scraped enough ice off where my eyes were in the windshield so that I could see. And he said, when I was coming through the parking lot, I hit the only pole in the whole parking lot. I was like, Rocky, I was like, why didn't you, scrape off the whole windshield? And he said, because I was late. And that story has stuck with me because I think in a lot of ways, our challenge has been going on for centuries. It's really hard for us to take the time to scrape the windshield so that we can see everything. And I think in a very simple way, when we're doing work with organizations, and it's similar to what's already been discussed and mentioned today, there are a few things which are so timeless but so difficult to do that we have to spend a significant amount of time and effort to do them. And I'll share with you just a few of them. The first challenge that we have is how do we create resilience? I mean, if we've talked about this VUCA world, we need people who are resilient. And very simply, that mindset in the work of Dr. Martin Seligman. Can we help people change their stories from it's about me, it's always been about me, I can't change, to I can do it, it's just about this moment, and we have an opportunity. And making that shift in mindset is really critical. And I think it's important for us here as folks in HR and working with companies is because the temptation is always to develop new tools and techniques. It's always to find an easier assessment or some other tool that can help us get over the ultimate challenge of beginning to work on ourselves and change the mindset. And that is not an easy thing to do. The second thing that I think is challenging and important for us to do, and what we try to do in a lot of our work, is helping people connect. If people are able to do the work of clearing the windshield and then able to connect with each other, they're better able to handle all the challenges that we're facing. I got my first start and break with a guy named Dr. M. Scott Peck, who wrote the book, The Road Less Traveled and the Different Drum, many years ago, and worked with him in group dynamics. And in these workshops that we used to run, we would literally just get 40, 50, 60 people together, and they would sit in chairs in a circle. And I, as the facilitator, would say to them, okay, here are the 5 or 6 rules of authentic communication. And I would share those rules with them. And then for the next 2 days, the only goal was to practice those rules of communication. It was that unstructured. And there was always a moment in the group's experience where they would begin out being very friendly. And then things would get very chaotic because they realized they didn't like everybody in the room. And then third, there came this point where everyone started talking about what does it mean to have trust, to respect, to care. And then there was this moment of silence usually. And the moment of silence was the place where people realized that talking about trust and respect didn't get us to trust and respect. In that moment of silence, I think that point is the point we have to walk with people and help people get to almost on a daily basis so that we can have the conversations that are missing all the time in our organizations, in our relationships, and in our places. And I think that place, that moment of silence that we realize we have to step from talking about to the doing is probably the place where history and human history has been struggling for all time. And I think for us as HR people and for us as leaders in organizations, beginning to practice that and help other people live at that moment and step beyond it is probably the biggest challenge.